Good day, and welcome back to Will a Wonderful World. Last time we helped out Sheng and Carlos with their problems, and we met Alicia and Kang. Now we're going to continue on with Li Wen and Jimmy. Also, by the way, I found out, apparently there's a point later in the game where you're able to switch endings, because I can't finish this, because I don't have the ability to go back and choose a different ending. So, yeah, let's continue with In the Alley and Tennis. I'm Li Wen, a senior at Yingnan High School. Today, the new art teacher signed me as his assistant for the class, so I had to stay after class and clean up the art room. Tried to sneak a few peeks at this strange teacher while I was reluctantly mopping the floor. He was looking over the sketches that had been left in the room one by one and throwing them in the trash. It was just the two of us, neither of us were talking. Hey, W. How was your first day? It was my homeroom teacher, Miss Yang, who burst in the room and broke the silence. She said hello to me and held onto Mr. Wen's arm like a girl. According to what I heard, Mr. Wen and Miss Yang went way back. It was also Miss Yang who had recommended Mr. Wen for the newly vacant teaching position. And the beautiful Miss Yang was said to be notoriously hard to get. Many male teachers in the school had allegedly been turned down by her. Was she involved with Mr. Wen? I grabbed the trash can and deliberately left the room. When I got back, there was no one there. Someone appeared to have already replaced the barrel from the water dispenser too. Seems I could finally go home. Yay. It was starting to get dark when I finally finished cleaning the classroom. I walked out of the school gate and I noticed Mr. Wen was walking not too far in front of me, going in the same direction. That was strange. I thought he had left a while ago. Didn't want to talk to him, so I stayed behind at a distance, quietly watching his back. Such a bad-tempered and terribly dressed man. How exactly to become a teacher again? Before I knew it, Mr. Wen had walked in the dark alley that led to my place. However, as soon as I stepped in the alley, I suddenly felt there was something wrong and immediately backed out. Mr. Wen had been stopped by two men. One in front, one behind. The one facing my direction was wearing a tank top. He flashed a pocket knife. I hid behind the corner and tried to peek around it. Mr. Wen took out his wallet and handed it over without many resistance. I was smart, I thought. Better safe than sorry. Tank top guy filed out the wallet, then slammed it on the ground. 20, you think I'm a fucking beggar? Punched Mr. Wen in the face. Stumbled back and bumped into the guy behind him. He was still not resisting. Tank top guy placed his knife on his face. Be smart, give me all your money. Judging from the look, maybe that 20 was really all he had. We were too far away from the main street and there was no one else who could help. I suddenly had an idea. Took my racket on my back and grabbed a tennis ball. This was the best time to test the results of my nightly practices. Ball toss, back swing. Hey, please hit the target, please. The ball was flying. Gust of wind suddenly swept by. The ball was blown off its path and it missed the target. Instead, it hit the back of Mr. Wen's head. It fell down the ground like a thud. Two men noticed me and they seemed to be just as shocked. Must have thought I wanted to kill the man lying on the ground for some reason. The tank top guy took one step towards me. I began to picture how they would force me in a corner, pull out a chainsaw from behind them, and cut me into pieces. I couldn't stay there any longer. I'm sorry, Mr. Wen. I screamed silently in my head and ran away with my hands covering my face, leaving Mr. Wen there by himself. Next day, Mr. Wen did not come to class. The school put out an announcement saying he had been badly injured during a robbery and that he was in a coma. The announcement also reminded students to be careful on the way back home. It was all my fault. I should not have left him alone. There must be a better way. Li Wen. Well, obviously, just stop the wind and you wouldn't have hit. No, I don't want to replay. I want to go next letter. My name is Jimmy. I'm a transfer student. I arrived in Beijing not too long ago, and now I'm a senior at Yingnan High School. The reason I chose this school is because I had a serious crush on a girl there. Just a few days ago, I was fortunate enough to be a partner in a doubles tennis match on the first day of school. At first, I was so thankful I thought the goddess had finally smiled upon me, and I was totally embarrassed because I'd never played tennis before. After that happened, I made up my mind. I was determined to improve my tennis skills just in case I had another chance. I adjusted the serve, walked back to baseline, raised my racket to get ready. In order to get better, I thought I bought a season membership at a club. I even finished watching all 117 episodes of the Kid of Tennis anime. I had complete faith in myself. I believed I could make it work this time. Next time I got to play with her, I would show off my kick serve, my pickup volleys, my drive D, even my zero-style slices. She would look at me with admiration. The ball machine shot the ball with a pong. The ball flew at 140 kilometers. What a sneaky machine. How dare it serve the ball when I wasn't paying attention. Ow, my wrist hurts. Doctor said I had hurt my tendon. I need to rest my hand for at least a month. He said I would not even use a mouse, not mention play tennis. No, doctor, I want to play. Oh, dear God, it's so fortunate. If you can hear me, please heal my wrist. If it isn't necessary, I will swear off video games for a month as a sacrifice. Please, Jimmy. Alright, start. In these two letters there are some special restrictions. Restrictions? Yes, remember when I told you that the white pieces could be moved anywhere? Except past the first and last black pieces of the letter. When special restrictions are in place, that will no longer be the case. For instance, in these two letters, the two pieces 140 and 180 are in conflict with each other. That means they cannot be moved to the same side. If you try to do so, they will automatically switch places. Both pieces are labeled with a double-headed arrow, which stands for conflict. In addition to conflict, there are other special restrictions, such as sequence. We'll deal with that when we see it. For now, you just need to remember that all the pieces with special restrictions will be labeled with a red sign. Okay, I'll keep an eye out. Alright, so either the ball is slower or the ball is fast. I'm assuming sudden gust of wind. Let's get rid of that wind, see what happens. I shuddered a little. Before I realized it, the ball was already right in front of me. I was so startled that I awkwardly blocked the ball with my racket, and I accidentally hit the sweet spot. It felt great. Wait, did I just hit it? Oh, yes I had. I just hit an underspin shot. Oh, wow. I learned how to hit an underspin shot. Bonsai, bonsai. I jumped up and down with excitement. People nearby were shooting me admiring strange looks. What does bonsai mean? Was he hurt? No, bonsai is a Japanese phrase. It means hooray. Although based on the observation, lots of people outside of Japan use this word as well. They're from many different countries, and most of them are men. Oh, and they share another common characteristic. What is that? They're all single. What's wrong with being single? Everything. Being single hurts. Bonsai still means hurt, right? See, bonsai means being single, and being single means it hurts. Very straightforward. I think I'm single too. Bonsai. The ball hit the forehead of the tank top guy exactly as I planned. He fell to the ground with a thud like a brick. Before the second man realized what had happened, I sprinted towards his back as fast as I could. Smashed his head with the racket with all my strength, then I grabbed Mr. Wen's hand and we ran towards the end of the alley. 10 minutes later, panting heavily, I realized I had already run all the way back to my apartment, still holding his hand. Excuse me, this is where I live. Quickly let go of his hand. Well, I might as well do a home visit then, shall we? Home visit? For a senior? By an art teacher? Mr. Wren, actually there's no one else home. I looked at him and explained, do your parents always work late? Looked up at me while climbing the stairs, the sunlight coming through the window in the hallway. No, I live alone. Stopped in front of room 413, but Mr. Wren didn't follow me. He stepped in front of room 414. He pointed to the door next to him with his thumb and smiled. I suddenly remembered. The day after I moved in, the manager, Uncle Son, told me that a very famous artist from abroad had been living in the apartment next to me. So that was him. We actually met each other before. First try. Yes. There's still things to do. I'll put that off for later, but right now we got some more mail.
没有搞错。
A relay race.
Dios, ¿qué debería hacer?
Mr. Quan. Okay. My mother had always complained that I never exercised. She would always say that if I ever needed a runway, I would be dead in a few steps. There's not that many bad guys in the world. Besides, even if there were, I think I could stay in my room and not go outside. It is the information era, after all. As long as I can get information online, I can play with the real world in the palm of my hands. Yet even though I managed to dodge all the recruiting activities, my roommate totally ruined my perfect plan. Today was the all-school sports event. I thought I could have made up an excuse like a foot injury, and I could just stay in my room and play on the computer, but Rocky had signed me up for the 4x400 relay race without me even knowing it. Now I had to stand under the scorching sun. 400 meters. Madness. Last time I was in a race, I was still in MMA school. I hadn't even hit puberty. I thought I might die on the track today. The gun went off. I took it from his hand. Never knew that Rocky was so fast. Our team was actually in first place during his third leg run. Still, why was I the final leg? What were people thinking? There were nothing else I could do but run like my life depended on it. The people along the tracks were cheering for me. I could really tell who they were, but they actually felt great. I was only 50 meters from the finish line and no one had caught up with me yet. I must have underestimated myself. Look at me, Mom. Your son is about to win a race. Looked straight ahead to the finish line, then I saw her. I saw my crush. Oh no, don't distract me. At such a moment, it was too late. I had lost my focus for 1 second. The tip of my foot tripped over a bump on the track. My entire body fell to the ground and then face smashed in the ground. By the time I got back up, the other teams had run past the finish line. Oh no, Jimmy. Alright then. Although it had just suffered a fire, Pitch Street 99 was still open for business. It was a small and old building. The walls were covered with flyers and graffiti. Walked along the main gate and saw a narrow staircase. There was also a small desk at the bottom of the stairs facing the entrance. A man with spiky hair was sitting behind the desk with his legs crossed. He put down the magazine, which had a woman with big breasts on the cover, and asked what I was doing. I told him that a man in a long black trench coat told me to come here. Trench coat? Everyone here wears a trench coat. I'm telling you, this is not some place you could just walk in. You better get out of here before I stab you with a knife. Spiky hair picked up the magazine again. I tried to recall what the guy looked like. White shirt, gray vest, short black hair. He had a big guy with a scar on his face. Scarred face? Mr. Tough? Hold on. Does the guy you're talking about have his right hand? The guy put down his magazine and his legs leaned toward me and asked quietly, "Right hand?" I couldn't remember exactly, but I do remember I picked up the phone with his left hand. Shouted upstairs, "Mr. Kwan, the guy you've been waiting for is here." I looked up the stairs with anticipation. However, the man who came down was not one I had met. He was wearing a leather jacket and a pair of sunglasses. He had high cheekbones, and he looked much older. He took me all the way to the suburb on the back of his motorcycle. Mr. Kwan spoke very fluent English. He told me that the building we'd just been in was the headquarters of the Black Dragon Gang, the biggest gang in Hong Kong, and the person who had told me to come was his second in command. He instructed Mr. Kwan to induct me as a pledge. A pledge was a potential candidate to join the gang, but before officially admitting me, Mr. Kwan had to make sure if I was qualified. Mr. Kwan put a gun in my hand. I was stunned. "You don't have to do it. If you're not willing to do this, you can leave right now. You'll just pretend we never met." Mr. Kwan took a small metal box out of his pocket and threw a piece of gum in his mouth. "No, I'll do it." Couldn't let go of a chance to find out. Besides, I had a brilliant idea. Went to a convenience store nearby. Most of the goods on the shelf seemed to be used. Some of them were covered with a thick layer of dust. The owner looked like he was over 60. He was reading a book behind the counter. It was just the two of us. Walked up the counter, smashed my left hand down, and I lifted the gun with my right hand and pointed at his head. Yelled in my meanest voice, "Give me all your money or I'm gonna blow your head open." And I whispered to the old man what was going on, making sure that Mr. Kwan wouldn't be able to hear. So nervous that I had no intention of robbing him. Handed him what was in my hand. "Please." The owner put his book down and looked at me pleadingly. "We need the money for my wife's hospital, but I can't give it to you. Everything else in the shop, if you like, it's all yours, please." He had only heard my threats, not my whispers. Tears rolled down his face. I must have lost my mind to be robbing a poor old man like this. Even if it was all fake, I should have never done this. Hand the gun to the owner and loudly told him why I was there and what I had been through. To my utter surprise, after hearing my story, the owner offered to ask me about my sister, and even asked if I'd be willing to stay and help out. He said I was welcome to stay as long as I did my little wage he could afford. I gave the old man a hug. Outside the store, Mr. Kwan had already left. I would never see him again. Started working at the store while looking for information about Alice. Days went by, but I still hadn't heard anything. Lord, what could I do to find my sister? Should I have joined the gang instead? Carlos. In this letter, there is a sequence, special restriction that we talked about. I handed him and I took him, both on the left side, then the former has to happen after the later. Because you can't hand the baton over and then have it back again. Furthermore, if you put the gun went off, it has to happen before the match began. So there is another sequence restriction. All sequence restrictions are labeled by a number. The pieces with smaller numbers cannot be placed after the pieces with large numbers. Since the aforementioned restrictions only apply to the left side, there is a straight vertical line in the middle of the red diamond. And the number is marked on the left side of the line. Oh boy, I'm completely lost. That's not all. You will get used to all these red signs eventually. Okay, then I'll try my best to remember them. So I'm assuming... finish the sequence? Because I have no idea what the Carlos ending is bad. Finally handed the baton off to the next leg. If I had taken one more step, I was going to throw up blood and die right there. Ugh. Our team was in second place. It was all up to Rocky. Rocky soon finished the 200 meters, but something didn't seem right. Had he eaten something bad today? In the end, not only did Rocky fail to pass Class 2, he was eventually passed by Class 4, 10 meters from the finish. That sucked. Although being part of this actually felt pretty great. It's... Please. Okay, please doesn't do anything. Oh god, this is gonna be bad for Carlos. A red dark hole appeared in the forehead of the owner. Apparently he had only heard my threats, but not my whispers. No matter how hard I tried to signal him, the old man couldn't get my hands. Just when I was about to give up, the gun went off by accident. There was blood everywhere. And now the store completely forgot about Mr. Kwan, began running back the way we came from. Never tried to catch me. A few people on the street gave me strange looks. They must have thought I was a madman. I wasn't mad. I was guilty. I was guilty of killing someone. I had to confess. I must confess. For since I was seeing the police station, there was blisters on both my feet. Lord, I have to confess. Please forgive me. I had finally handed the baton off to the next leg. If I had to take one more step, I was going to throw up blood right there and die. Team was in second place. It was all up to Rocky now. Rocky soon reached the 200 Pacific instant rank. Had he eaten something bad? Let's go, Rocky, let's go. I'll buy you ice cream. Now that I had participated, I wanted us to win. I couldn't help but start cheering. Many people around me started cheering for him too. I never knew that participating in this kind of event could actually feel pretty great. Rocky suddenly sped up. He finally ran past Class 2 with 10 years left. He crossed the finish line first. We were happily hugging and shoving each other near the finish line. My stomach hurt a little. Can we do a barbecue instead of ice cream? You're funny. I pushed Rocky's aside and caught a glimpse of someone. It was my crush. And she was looking at us. She was smiling. I never knew I could get this kind of reward by participating in the meet. I felt so happy, so happy. How about just the gun went off? There we go. What? I took it from his hand. What did you take? The owner was so frightened that I was shaking. He immediately took a few large bills out of the drawer and then handed them to me. Apparently I'd only heard my threats, not my whispers. Looking upon a 6-year-old man with an ailing wife at home, crying and begging me to spare his life, I could barely hold the tears in. 𝐬𝐻 took the money with a satisfied look. It was then admitted into the Black Dragon gang. A few days later in the evening, I took a motorcycle from someone else in the group and came back to the store. I stuffed all the money I borrowed under the door. Sorry and thank you, Mr. Owner. Oh. So I guess we needed to join the gang. Alright, well, that's all the mail. Let's see. I think one more. Let's see.
하나님, 나를 도와주세요.
A piece of rope.
¿Por qué me pasan este tipo de cosas?
The lives in group loyalty. Who's this? My name is Park Sung-gun. I'm 12 years old. I live in Korea. My home was on a hill. There's a lot of similar old houses on that hill, and the one that was highest was mine. There were good and bad things about living here. Good thing was, since our house was set up, we got to be farther away from the other houses. So we had a big yard. However, I had to climb the stairs over half an hour every day just to go and buy my dad a bottle of vodka at the convenience store. If I didn't, Dad would get angry. He'd beat me with his belt. It wasn't just me either. He would also hit my mom. Never understood why he would do that. I just wish that if we could figure it out, maybe Mom wouldn't have taken the beating anymore. Dad was a road construction maintenance worker. He used to come back home with mud all over his clothes, but for the past 2 months he'd always come home clean. He would bring in money and give it to Mom. Other times, though, he would take some money out of the pot where we kept our food money. Mom always worked very hard. She had to wash a lot of clothes and sheets during the day for other people. She said she was getting paid for washing them. I really wanted to help, but I was too short. I couldn't even reach the pole where she hung the clothes. Alex came by today. He lived on the hill, too. Alex was Russian, just like Mom. Oh, so are you, like, Russian, then? They both had blonde hair and blue eyes. Just like me. I'm gonna try to do subtle. The other kids who lived nearby didn't like me at all. They always said that I looked weird. Only Sumi from the bakery would play with me. She had once told me that she wanted to open a cake shop together with me. But I didn't like cakes. There was an ant nest in our yard. I would watch the ants carry things into their nest. I bet they must have a very big home. Suddenly it started raining. Our raindrop almost blocked the entrance to the nest. I went back inside to get an umbrella, then I came back and covered it. Mom and Alex were taking the sheets back inside. Then Dad came home. He was Korean. I don't know how to do a Russian-Korean accent, so I'll just stick with Russian. He had brown hair and brown eyes. He was back earlier than usual today. He saw Alex there and kicked the umbrella away. Alex left. Mom went to the house with Dad. I followed them inside. You slutty bitch. Dad slapped Mom in the face and pushed her to the floor. He took a rope out of the cabinet. Rope was wrapped around her neck and choking her. 5 minutes later, I grabbed onto Dan's arm with my whole body, but I couldn't stop him. He was too strong for me. Dad kicked me in the stomach and shoved me off him. I fell and crashed into the corner of the room. Bastard. Dad called me that word a lot. I used to ask Mom what it meant. She told me that it just meant bad child. Dad finally let go. Mom collapsed on the floor, but she didn't get back up as if she had fallen asleep. Tried to shake her awake. I tried as hard as I could, shouted, She would not wake up. I heard the door open. I turned around. Dad had run out. I didn't know where he was going. I held on to Mom's arm and cried. Why? I'd always been a good child. God, please let Mom wake up. I promise I'll be an even better child. I promise I will never be a bastard again. Park Sang-gun. I had been a member of the Black Dragon Gang for 2 months, but I was still yet to officially meet Mr. Lin. Mr. Lin was the second in command. We met once on the day at the fire. He was also the one who had inducted me into the gang. I thought I would finally get some information about my sister once I joined, but I soon found out that everyone in my group, including our own leader, knew nothing about her. As for Mr. Lin, he rarely ever came to number 99 in person. Still, there were some upsides. At least I didn't have to worry about room and board. My Cantonese was also improving. Besides, not everyone in the game was as scary as one would expect. Ren was one of the nice guys. I belonged to the group loyalty team. The group oversaw the loan business, so we were essentially the loan sharks. Now that I had become a member, I couldn't just coast along without doing anything, but I also didn't want to do the wrong things. I had told Ren about my predicament during one of our conversations. Ren told me Mr. Quan then told that he wanted to bring along when he was collecting debt. Every time we went, Ren would whisk the kids of the family away first. Then I would tear apart their old clothes, spill some chicken blood on them, and mail the clothes to the debtors. Once we were sure the debtors had received the bloody clothes, Ren would then make a phone call. You got the package. I'm giving you 3 days. If you still don't have our money, you will be getting more than just clothes. He sounded like Uncle Wang, the big butcher at the street corner with a violent attitude. The afro on his head would bounce 3 times with a rhythm every time he yelled at his customers. As soon as he put down the phone, he would immediately turn into a preschool teacher and go play with our hostages, or wearing the new clothes we had just bought them. Ren would get scolded by Mr. Quan every once in a while. He said Hong Kong was too small of a place. Everyone learned how group loyalty handled the business would become more and more difficult. But Ren never took it seriously. He knew that I came to Hong Kong to find my sister. Even though he couldn't help much, he would always allow me to go out and look for her whenever there weren't any assignments. Every time Quan asked about me, he would also cover. Just like today, I had been out asking around the whole morning, but I still got nothing. When I went back to 99, everyone seemed to have a strange smirk on their faces. Ren said they were going to go get a massage, and been waiting for me to come back. Oh. I laughed knowingly. Help yourself to the beer on the table. I paid for those. We're off. Oh, and I almost forgot. There's someone in the room who Mr. Quan told us to keep an eye on. Don't let her get away. And they left. A girl was tied to a chair in the corner of the room. Although there was a cloth stuffed in her mouth, she seemed very pretty. She looked Asian, but she had dark skin like mine. Her eyes were thin and curly, like a pair of new moons. Her shining black hair draped from her head like a dark waterfall. She was wearing a short purple skirt. Like the skirt had been torn on its side. Mr. Quan wanted her to watch, then I would watch her. No need to think about it. Slapped my cheeks to keep myself alert. I raised the bottle. Then a rope snapped. I was reading the label when I heard the rope snap. Before I could turn around, I felt a hand strike the back of my neck. I blacked out. Didn't know how long I passed out. A bucket of cold water was thrown on my face. I woke up. I saw Mr. Quan standing in front of me. Everyone was back in the room. They had all a terrible look on their faces. I looked to the corner again. The chair was still there, and there were 2 halves of the rope on the floor. The girl was gone. I made a terrible mistake. Tossed the knife over to me and looked away. Up in the group, but I knew the rules. If I wanted to stay, I had to do this. Bit my lip hard, cut off my left pinky finger. Half the blood dropped. Blood was still gushing out. It hurt like hell, but I was a man. I didn't make a sound. Who on earth was that girl? If only I had been more alert. Why did he cut off his own pinky? It's a ritual in the Mafia and some gangs. If you make a mistake, you have to cut off your own pinky. Some gangs may even make their new members cut it off before joining. That's so scary. Carlos. What the fuck am I even gonna... Okay. Mom's face turned red first, then blue. The rope in my hands was choking her tighter and tighter. I could see the old bruises all over Mom's body. I couldn't stand this anymore. Couldn't stand to watch Mom suffer like this. I was screaming, but my brain was completely empty. I didn't know what I was doing. I just wanted to scream my heart out. Dad's face changed into a shocked expression. He stumbled back, then stepped on the bottle and fell backwards. The doorbell rang. I came to my senses and dropped my hands. Mom was gasping for air. She looked at me with a look I'd never seen before. What had I just done? Why am I here? Who am I? Let out a scream and ran out the door. I could never come back to this house ever again. Mr. Kwon had come back. He pulled up a chair in front of the girl and sat down, began asking her questions. The others had come back from the massage. We were all standing next to the wall. No one dared make a sound. From Mr. Kwon's questions, I learned the girl's name was Yi. Mr. Kwon only met her recently. Had even bought her an apartment. Mr. Kwon was a tough man, but he always been very gentle to women, and he never slept around either. He wouldn't tolerate being betrayed by this woman. A few days ago, he found out Ian had been hanging out with people from the Blood Gang. He began to suspect that she had been approaching him with other intentions. He decided to find out the truth. He dumped a bucket of ice water on her head. The air conditioning had been set to max power at 16 Celsius, and it was blowing directly at her. Every time she wouldn't answer, she would cut off her hair or slap her face. Yi was quite tough, though. Her mouth had started bleeding. Almost all of her hair had been cut off, and she still hadn't spoken. But Kwon was tougher. He sent Ren to fetch him a bottle of white flower oil. Twisted off the cap, forced Yi's eye open, and was about to drop in her eyes. He was shaking, uncontrollably. The tears welled. She was finally broken. He was right about everything. He was not just a member of the Blood Gang. She was the niece of Big Boss, Mr. Chang. But that wasn't what angered him. He hadn't seduced him to infiltrate. She was only trying to get close to the other groups of the Black Dragon. She had only chosen Kwon because he was single and therefore an easier and more convenient target. The Blood Gang had never cared about the loan business. Mr. Kwon was outraged, feeling incredibly insulted. Carlos, take care of this bitch. Never let me see her again. Alright, let's get an S for him. I must stop, Dad. Climbed up on the table, smashed the vodka bottle in his hand. He suddenly stopped and fell to the ground on his back. Something dark and red was coming out of Dad's head. Mom sat up, her face pale like a piece of paper. She coughed violently for a while and cried. Carefully climbed off and ran into her arms, just like I always did. Every time Dad lost his temper, we would huddle like this. It was the only way we could make ourselves feel better. I don't know what Dad would have done when he woke up. I wished I never had a dad like him. Park Sung's story is so sad. Why is his father so cruel? Why would someone kill his own wife? We could help him. Who knows, maybe his father went mentally ill. Humans are easily stressed. Some people would ease their stress by exercising, overheating, or smashing, and some people, however, became twisted. He was so young. If only he hadn't had a father like this. If he never had his father, he wouldn't have existed. You're right, does that mean I had a father? You're a goddess, so of course not. Don't overthink it, get back to work. Oh. I guess... Cat?
부처님, 나도 좀 도와줘요.
Okay. I think I can do one more. Try to lighten the mood a little. Rain and tears. I was a stray kitty. Daddy called me Spotty. Daddy was like a daddy to me. He was an older homeless cat who had always taken care of me. Ever since he found me, he would always bring me with him wherever he went. He had given me a name too. He had told me it was because of the yellow spots on my tail. Whenever he found some goodies, Dad would always let me have the first bite. He would stroke my head and tell me, "Kiddo, help yourself. You're only 3 months old. You need more food to grow up." I always liked Daddy the best. Today, Daddy was going to take me to the hill and catch some birdies, but it started raining heavily. Daddy said that because of the rain, the birdies wouldn't come, so we had to go back to the street like yesterday and look for some goodies. I hope we can find some tasty chicken legs and fish steaks. Unlike in the wind, there are many two-legged animals walking on the streets. Daddy told me they're called humans. Because of the humans, the streets was always crowded all day and all night. Sometimes when we came to a place where there were a lot of humans, a few females would excitedly meow at me. What a cutie. And if I would let them touch my head, I could often get some goodies. But Daddy always warned me to keep my distance. Daddy said that humans are not to be trusted. The street was just across the road. I could see the shop with the fish sign from here. But we had waited for the light to change. Daddy explained the traffic laws are very strict. The fine is over 20,000. We were caught. Even if we turned in all our hidden dried fish treats, it wouldn't be enough. And there were many iron beasts running so fast in the streets. Daddy said those beasts are made by humans and they're called cars. They're very dangerous, and we must be careful not to get hit. So we must obey the law. The light finally turned green. I sprinted a little one ahead. Daddy followed me slowly. He was an old man. He was old and he had been injured, so he couldn't see very well. A beast suddenly let out a huge roar of bang as smoke came from under it. Do they have pointy ears and long tails? Yes. And they know how to watch the traffic lights? Yes. They know how to write letters too? Good question. Maybe they can write in their own language? We are gods, so we'll receive a translated version. That's fascinating. I wonder what the original letters look like. The beast seemed to have come shorter and it was charging directly towards Daddy. But it was green. The ground was covered with water and it was slippery. I heard a sound like shh. I looked back. He had slipped. Ran over trying to grab him. The beast ran over Daddy in an instant. Jesus Christ. It didn't stop until it was almost at the crossing. A human kid opened the door, ran towards me and Daddy. Please help Daddy. He yelled in for help, but the kid tripped just a few steps away from us. I recognized him. His name was Park Sang-goon. He lived nearby. Often got goodies. He was a good kid. He would help Daddy for sure. He kept yelling louder and louder, and a few adults in white coats followed him out of the beast. I thought they were coming to help Daddy, but they stopped at where Sang-goon fell and pinned him to the ground. While they were trying to drag him away, I saw a big red scar on the back of his neck. I had seen people in his home beat him. I didn't know he had been hurt so badly. Sang-goon was dragged away by white-coated humans and thrown into the beast once again. And then the beast just ran away. The whole time, nobody even heard me yelling for help. I saw Daddy lying in his own blood. I almost couldn't recognize him anymore. I cried. Please take Daddy to the hospital. Please, someone. The humans walked by, glancing at us, and kept walking. It's like they couldn't even see us or hear us anymore. Some humans covered their noses as if they had seen a dead rat. They were not like this before. They used to like touching our heads with their paws. Why? Why was Daddy right? Were humans not to be trusted? God, please help Daddy. Spotty. Wanted to end on a later note, but I guess not. Help me, Chang. I thought the lieutenant would commend me for resolving a crisis on my first day. Instead, I was scolded in front of the entire office as soon as I got back from the scene. He even told to write a discipline report. I had to have been at least 10,000 words long. I'd always hated writing. I would rather run 1,000 laps. So I decided to simply Google similar reports without the lieutenant noticing. After lots of copying, pasting, and rearranging, I finally completed the 10,000 word report. I felt exhausted, so I went to the bathroom and washed my face. Still feel the impact to my organs after falling on the cushion. I was fit enough to endure. A regular person would probably have to stay in the hospital for a few days. I looked in the mirror and saw a band-aid. I gave myself a proud smile. I was just getting out of the bathroom when I witnessed something incredible with my own eyes. Lieutenant King was holding a folder in front of him. Even though his face was mostly hidden behind it, I could still clearly see his expression. His cigarette was slightly twisted. Some watery stuff was coming out of his eyes. There were no doubt tears. Is this really the eccentric dictator that I've been hearing about? And should I leave the room now? Should I? Officer Mignon left the office a while ago. The lieutenant must have thought I had gone home too. If he saw that I was still in the office, he would kill me for seeing all that? I was still struggling with the most difficult decision when he closed the folder. I quickly hid back in the bathroom and didn't come out until I heard him walking. Looked around the office and realized I was alone. Couldn't help but start walking closer to his desk without even realizing it. The folder was still on the desk. It was a red folder. Archives of Criminal Investigation Unit 2. Unit 2. I had heard a few years ago Unit 2 had been killed in a violent incident. Afterwards, Unit 2 became the only unit that had a designation, but no members. Some people call it a ghost unit. Due to the severity of the case, no one in the situation would talk about it, especially the older officers who had been at the precinct when it happened. Why did Lieutenant King care so much? Had he lost colleagues during the incident? Why did I care? It had nothing to do with me. I should just mind my own business. Went back to my seat, created a new document, and I typed the title, Unit Transfer Request, but I couldn't think of another word afterwards. My mind was totally blank. I had been so worn out after writing that damned report. I was straining my brain to figure out when a big hand slapped my shoulder. Yo, the new guy at Unit 4 is working hard. Wish my people could be half as vigilant as you. Voice sounded like a loud and powerful as a booming bullhorn. Almost jumped out of my skin when I suddenly heard it behind my back. Lieutenant Kim Young-ho of Unit 3. I stood up from the chair and gave him a salute, waved his hand. Young man, no need to be so formal. Go take a bath and rest in the spa. Don't work too hard. Check the time. I didn't realize it was almost 11 p.m. The spa room inside was bigger than my apartment. It was incredibly clean. It would be incredible to finish the day with a hot bath, bathed in the steam, looking forward to a relaxing evening. Took my clothes, stuffed them inside a locker, closed the locker, and turned around. Lieutenant King was right there. Got undressed, great shape, lean muscles all over his body. Didn't want to admit it, but he was not screaming at me. He was not the screaming at me Lieutenant King was rather... Bleh. I didn't want to admit it, but when he was not screaming, he was rather a handsome man, despite being a little disheveled. He was to her room, and despite his peculiar personality, he still was able to keep his position in no small part due to the solid support from the female officers in the criminal investigation unit. Guess that made sense. I already witnessed the female officers from other units smiling at the lieutenant. On my first day, why didn't anyone smile at me? Speaking of which, not only was the unit for a small team, it was also a sausage unit. If only we had some female officer as well. I didn't talk to Lieutenant King after he yelled at me that afternoon, yet now we were standing each other completely naked. This was not awkward at all. We got in and out of the hot tub. That seemed to last forever, then we went back to the locker room. Put our clothes on and were about to leave. We never said a word to each other the whole time. I was hoping that I could relieve some of the tension between us. May I write a letter to him? Why? I want to ask for a picture of his boss next time. Ugh. I suppose it was too naive. A piece of soap appeared out of nowhere and stopped near us. He reached out, taking my clothes on the locker when I heard a noise and saw what just happened. My eyes involuntarily looked down, back at myself. Lieutenant Gang, our eyes met. I could see something menacing in his eyes. Oh my god. I didn't do it on purpose. Didn't even see anything. Okay, fine, I actually did see something, but I really didn't mean to. I was so screwed. Even if my request got approved, I wouldn't be able to get out tomorrow. Maybe tonight. Tim would just kill me. Please, Buddha. Please tell me what should I do. I have no idea. Chang. Alright. Let's see. Reached out, tried to grab him. Heard a slip. Oh, that changes his story. Okay. Maybe that'll stop him from looking? I accidentally caught a glance when I was taking my clothes out of the locker room. Wow. Body was really top-notch. Still wet. Drops of water were streaming down his skin. Any woman in the world, I'm sure he was the hottest. Sure, Lieutenant King's hotness must be off the chart. Didn't know what had gotten me, but I reached out and grabbed his arm. He acted like he had been shot. He punched back, nearly without even looking back. He then saw it was me. His face turned totally steely green, and his eyes were filled with anger. Never sneak up from behind me, ever again. My nose felt like it was on fire. I could feel blood coming out of it, but I didn't dare wipe it off. I had to stand there with one hand pinching my nose, and watch as Lieutenant left the locker room. Nope. A soap appeared out of nowhere? What is that gonna do? The locker room was filled with steam and was drifting through the spa. Oh, that and the same awkwardness. We remained silent until we both left the locker room. I was hoping to relax, but now I feel even more tense. Okay, he had slipped. No, wait, piece of soap trying to grab him. The ground was slippery, he reached out. There we go, that changes both of them. Lieutenant King rolled his eyes at me and stood back up. He then got undressed and left the locker room. Frozen, stood there like a statue. If only I had reached out to grab him sooner. No, I should have gone and picked up that soap. Oh boy. Was my career over? Okay, so grab him before the soap. The beast slipped in the water and turned on its side suddenly like it was drunk. Daddy jumped ahead just in time. The beast missed him. The beast had run into the rails not too far and finally stopped in the grass. Soon a human walked out of the beast. He seemed to be okay and just started yelling while checking his beast's round feet. I looked at the beast. Its body had some words, but I couldn't read, but I had seen the sign next to it. I used to go hunting birdies with Daddy in a far, far place. It was deep inside the mountains. But on top of the hill, there was a building that smelled like drugs. Daddy told me that it was a hospital. It had the same sign as the one on the beast. I remember thinking that the hospital looked a little strange. You inside didn't look hurt, but none of them would smile. Someone would burst into laughter of tears all of a sudden. It all looked a little strange, not like the humans we met in the city. Humans were so strange. Okay, so for him... slipped, tried to grab him. Okay, no. I heard a sound like a slip. Looked back. He had slipped. Let's try piece of soap. No. Can I take out the he reached out? Okay, I can take out the he reached out. Heard a slip. No, hold on. There we go, let's try that. No? I heard a sound like a slip. Look back, he had slipped. So what I want is... a piece of slope appeared. He had slipped, he reached out, I tried to grab him. No. Probably gonna cut this out anyway, but what about no slip? Okay, there we go. Piece of slip appeared. I know where he reached out. I ran over to try and grab him. I accidentally caught a glance at Lieutenant King when I was taking my clothes out of the locker. Wow. His body was really top-notch, still wet, and drops of water were steaming down his skin. For any woman in the world, I'm sure Lieutenant King's hotness must be off the charts. I didn't know what had gotten into me, but I reached out and grabbed his arm. Oh, for fuck's sake. What? After we left the station, Lieutenant King took me to a bar. Never guessed that after that day, the relationship between Lieutenant King and I would turn into something completely unexpected. The tale of a soap. Z? Z? What the fuck did I just witness? There we go. I grabbed Lieutenant King and tried to pull him up, but I slipped and fell too. We had to get back to the hot tub and take another bath to clean ourselves. The water was still very warm, but I was already used to the temperature. Lieutenant King wrapped his towel around his neck again. Didn't close his eyes this time, though. He just seemed to be staring blankly. It was only the two of us. So quiet again. Nothing else was in the air except the steam from the water and the awkwardness. Maybe it was my imagination, but Lieutenant King almost looked like a normal, accessible person for a while. I was almost going to ask him something, but I decided to let it go. It was already after work. Maybe I shouldn't talk about it? Wait. Yes, next letter. Are there two S's? Is there a second S rank I can do? Alright, what's this one? The round feet of the beast stopped to step on some soap. Having to step on some soap, the beast suddenly turned on its side like it was drunk. Daddy jumped ahead and it missed him, but the beast had run to the rails not too far ahead and finally stopped on the grass. As soon as a human walked out of the beast, he seemed to be okay and just started yelling. I looked at the beast. Its body had some words, but I couldn't read. It had a sign I'd seen before. It used to go hunting with birdies far away. It was deep inside the mountains, but on top of the hill there was a building that smelled like drugs. Daddy told me it was a hospital, and it had the same sign as the one on the beast. I remember thinking that the hospital looked kinda strange. Humans inside didn't look hurt at all to me, but none of them would smile. Some of them would burst into laughter or tears all of a sudden. They all looked a little strange. Not like the humans we met in the city. Humans are so strange. Well, there we go. And that's it. Jesus, we've already got what? What is it? 9 characters. Jesus. That's gonna be tough to keep track. But anyway, I think that's a more... yeah, that's more of a lighthearted note to end on. So I guess See you guys next time. Have a good day.